How do you spend your time? Are you someone who finds themselves without a moment to spare, or do you struggle to fill your days? One of the things that the pandemic has highlighted is the gap between the time-rich and time-poor. My friends of my sort of age have, by and large, been trying to combine working full-time hours, looking after young children, homeschooling, and watching our housework standards slowly deteriorate. Time has been in the shortest supply it's ever been. It feels like all those months ago when the shelves were bare. Who panic bought all the free time? For many others, it's been a different story. I've heard that some of your gardens are in the best shape that they've ever been because you've had the extra time to devote to their care and enjoy them. I have friends with no caring responsibilities who have been on furlough or made redundant, and they have had too much time to dwell on the situation. Time can be a gift, but for many it can be a burden too. Following Jesus affects how we spend our time. For example, we might choose to sit in church on a Sunday morning rather than watch TV or get the weekly shop done. We might spend 50 years faithfully serving a tea club, or give up Saturday mornings to make cups of tea for parents at Twinkletops. When we have a chance to read, we might open the Bible or a prayer book, instead of reading a juicy murder mystery or a sexy bodice ripper. It's also true that occasionally church life can tend towards endless meetings about meetings, or squabbles, or hours spent on rotas and admin. That hasn't happened very much here, but when it does, you can see why people question if it's really how God wants us to spend our time. I find this week's readings reassuring, because they seem to be dealing with exactly these issues. These are not new modern problems, they are part of our life of faith together. As someone who overfills their time, I love the urgency of this section of the letter to the Romans. It says to me, don't spend time worrying about all the different commandments, just act with love and you'll be doing God's will. It says to me, time is short. Don't waste it on things that take you further away from God. Since I started reading aloud in church on a Sunday, I've hated those long lists of sinful activities. You'll know the ones. We had one of them today. I don't know if it's some residual embarrassment for having to read out the phrase sexual immorality as a 13-year-old, or if I feel unfairly judged. I mean, how debauched do you think I am? However, I can't deny that there is truth there. Some types of behaviours hurt ourselves, and they hurt others, and that means that we hurt God. It is worth remembering that it can be incredibly difficult to break cycles of destructive behaviour. And often when people behave in hurtful ways, it is because they have been deeply hurt themselves. Perhaps instead of seeing condemnation, we should see these passages as encouragement that we can change. How do we want to spend the precious time God has given us? Our Gospel reading is similar. It warns against wasting time with arguments with other believers. It encourages us that when people repeatedly refuse to see the damage they have done, we should move on. Again, this feels like somewhat harsh advice, but I believe it comes back to this idea of using our time well. Do we continue to go round and round in circles with arguments that will never be resolved? Or do we focus on living out our own faith and pursuing our calling as individuals and churches? As the first reading emphasises, we must always be loving, but we shouldn't get sidetracked from our purposes of worshipping God, loving our neighbour, and proclaiming the good news. Time is short and we have much to do. Today we resume our celebration of Holy Communion. As with the other aspects of our worship, it will be a little different to normal, and I'll give you instructions when the time comes. I know how deeply many of you will have felt the absence of the Eucharist, and we should acknowledge that there will be many people, including those who are watching this at home, who are still not able to join us. As we think about how we spend our time, let us particularly focus on our time gathered around Jesus' table. I've spoken before about how Holy Communion is like time travel, connecting us with that moment with Jesus in the upper room, and also giving us a glimpse of that heavenly banquet that lies ahead. Breaking bread links us with each one of the billions of times that Christians have shared this sacred meal together. I think there is a real sense that in receiving the Eucharist, we go beyond a human conception of time, and we get closer to God's time. We recognise this when we say, Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. We are given this special opportunity to receive at Jesus' table. And if we truly give ourselves to that moment, we may find that knowledge that we are accompanied by angels and archangels and all the company of heaven. We will see our place in the long line of saints that have gone before us, and the long line of saints that will come after us. I believe that sharing the Eucharist together is the best way to spend our time, because it can take us beyond time. I wanted to keep today's sermon short because I think it's right that our focus, especially for today, is Holy Communion. If you can, reflect a little this week on how you value time and whether lockdown has changed things for you. Consider in what ways your faith influences your decisions about where you put your time and energy. Perhaps return to these readings. How might the knowledge that time is short change your behaviour or the way you deal with the behaviour of others? But for now, let us give thanks that we are able to share this holy meal, which unites us with the Alpha and Omega, and all those who have received the bread of life. Amen.